Right, so now we have our two mirrored poses. We're ready to go. So when you're doing, when you're doing your walk cycle, you need to think about how, like of course the attitude and all those things, but you do want some consistency, but you need to think about how you get from one pose to the next. So right now, in linear, it just goes linearly, just kind of slides, right? So we need a high point. So I'm gonna actually go ahead. I'm gonna bring this key over. So let's grab all. I'm gonna move this over here, just so they're closer. Nice. Okay. So we want the what I call the high point. Okay, so we're going to create that. Flatten this one. A lot of times when I'm doing things too, when there's foot animation, I just zero these out and start from scratch. It just makes it easier, because you're not building on top of something else. Another thing too, when you're animating the feet, always think as soon as the feet come off the ground, just zero these out. It makes your life a lot easier because then you're just dealing with rotations. Once the foot touches the ground or leaves the ground, like when it's here and here, that's when I use these guys. Once it's on the ground flat or up in the air, I just use the rotations, and then these guys, and then I put a little drag on the toe with the FK toe. That's it. Okay, so let's sync one. Oh, I think I just messed that up. Dang it. This is not supposed to be frame 1. It's supposed to be frame 5. Okay, so frame 5. Okay. So now I will build that breakdown. And the thing with the walk too is pretty much every pose is a key. There's always, every frame is a key. You don't really in between a walk. Okay, so we do that, and then we're going to give him a nice high point. It comes up. So there. We'll take these two. Oops. Bring them up. That one. And up here, like I was saying, I like to keep the feet, the knee pull vectors close. And the one thing too, always remember that the knee is over the toe. Like, see how far this is rotated out? And that means the knee is probably going to be over the toe. If you move the knee like this, boom, it looks dislocated. Move it out there, it looks dislocated. It's pretty much like that, okay? And now all the weight is on this leg, which means the hips are going to droop because the weight's on this foot, which means the cog is going to come down so it doesn't hyperextend. Something like that. Okay. And since this leg is coming up, our arms are going to be doing the opposite. Like I said, the arms do the opposite, right? So let's go back here and grab the hands. So the hand is going to be countering this one. So it's going to be down here because the body's going up and the arms trail behind, and that means the shoulder will be down too. So we have more range of motion on that arm. All right, rotate the hand. Look at the hand. Yeah, look at that. Awesome. Okay, same here because they're in transition. They're swinging through. So this one's going this way, this one's coming, the one on the other side's going the opposite way. So the hands are going to be pointed different directions. Boom, boom. Okay. Again, drooping. They're not exactly the same. You don't want to mirror them. It's something maybe like that, right? Okay. we'll grab that spine, and we'll kind of, since another thing to think about too is when the character is going up, there's pressure on the spine. The spine is this joint. You have gravity pushing down, and then the force of, you know, his cog pushing up. So you're going to have compression. So his spine is going to bend. Not his cog, his spine. Something like that. So we're going to go from here to there. See how it's squashing now? Squashing. Okay. And we'll get that neck up a little bit. And that head up a little bit. Okay, so I usually just keep the head out forward until, and just to kind of keep it out of the way. And then I go back in and redo it towards the end since it's going to be like overlapping. So, okay, so now these hips are leading because the leg's coming forward. So it's actually not going to be quite so tilted in the other direction. Let's get that pull vector out here a little bit. And I always like to animate my walks with character. I don't like boring, generic stuff. So, you know, it's funny, when I was in school and I went to Cal Arts, when I was animating, I always tried to do a little something to make it fun. And it just makes it better. I don't know. We're character animators, we're not just animators. Okay, so we have this pose. 1, 2, 3. Boom. So now it's animated. Boom. Okay, so now we have the first stride. And then we're going to, of course, animate the second stride. So you take frame 1, we'll do a select all. And we'll just copy that over here. Actually, I need to move 18 or 19 or so. And you always count on twos, like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Always think in twos. It's easier when you lay down your keys. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. You always start on frame 1. I never like to see, if I see a scene where it starts on frame 0, then I know you're not paying attention. Scenes always start on frame 1. Oh. Okay, so now we have our main pose here. You know, our stride, our second stride, and then we have a breakdown, right? So now we can do the same thing here. We'll just copy the breakdown, make sure I got everything selected, select all. We'll copy that over here. So now we have that over here, and we do exactly what we did with the other one. We create the opposite, right? So now we take this guy, and like I said before, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. So we'll just, it's easier to match it this way. Do this one first. Oops. Rotator this one. And animation is kind of a messy business. There's no like, you know, you just push the button and then it's perfect. It's always, it takes like, you know, you rough it out, then you finagle it, then you play with it, you move it over here, you try this, and then you get something that works. You know, it's never just like boom, 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 done. At least in my experience. So I'm going to zero off the hips here. Pulls the other foot down. Oops, wrong one. So let's zero this out. X. Drop it on the round curve. Go zero. Notice how I do a lot of stuff in the channel box. That's how I keep things from being, you know, get rid of all that extraneous kind of messiness. So that's like 1, 2, 2. Actually, this would be 17, but we'll do that later. I'm doing it backwards, aren't I? Alright. 5. So actually I did them backwards. So this foot should be here and this foot should be here. So we'll do a select all. Take 5, move that over to 14. Hit S. Take 13, move that over to 5. Delete 13. And move that here. Boom. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Alright. So now we're going to build 13 from 5. And then we have 9, 13. So this would be dragging from here to here. So the hand is going to be doing the opposite. It's going to be more like this. And I'll favor that over here like the other one. And this one's going to be back here. Rotated in the other direction, dragging. Like I said before, it doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same. Let's make it look good. Variation is actually better. That hand-touched feel is what makes animation good. You don't want it to be too robotic and too symmetrical. Okay. So let's see what we got. Boom, boom, boom. So 1, 5, 9, 13, and then this will actually be 17. So select all, just so it's consistent. So it's on 4s now. So now we have. So if I go through and put a key between each one of these, it'll work. But usually I have a little bit more space. And then I change the timing once I get the basic stride done, which I'll get into next.